Yo, what's going on? It's your boy. I'm back at you with another one. In this video, I'm going to be fully stripping this 1996 Jeep Cherokee down to the bare shell. I'm going to be taking everything because I'm going to be using all of it to OBD2 swap that Comanche right there. So I'm going to get the wiring. I'm going to get, I got the engine out of it. That's its own video. This is the axle out of my 01. That's a low pinion Dana 30. Power Slave gave me his old Dana 35, so there's nothing but junk left in this thing. I'm gonna take the brake booster, the EVAP system, the HVAC stuff, which this is unique to 95, 96, the clutch pedal, everything. So I'm not gonna go into that much crazy amounts of detail because none of this is going back together. This Jeep's going to the junkyard. It's rotted out. It's beyond saving. I mean, I know it looks really clean, like the body is really clean and the paint's really nice, and it is a shame. It's a really good color. I think it's called like emerald pearl or something, like deep emerald. It looks really good in the sun. When the sun hits it just right, it sparkles so nice, but the underside's totally rusted out. So let's get to it. All right, before I start tearing this apart any further, I want to make a video and go through all the connectors on the wiring harness so I don't lose track of them. I should have done it sooner because I already don't know what a few of them are. We're going to start at the ECM. All three of the connectors go directly into the main harness. Everything connects here. Our first split, we have two grounds. I believe that's G106. The headlight harness for the header panel, the electric radiator fan, and the horn. Back to that spur. Splits off again here. We have the brake fluid level sensor, and then two spurs that go into this giant thing that goes into the cab to the fuse box. And I believe that's it right there. Continuing, this goes to the windshield wipers. This goes inside to something on the steering column and the OBD2 port. And then we have the coolant temperature sensor for the gauge, then the injector harness, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's got your fuel injectors, the throttle body, the front temperature sensor, the O2 sensor, all that. Continuing, this is for the downstream O2 sensor and the reverse lights and the four-wheel drive lights. That's on its own separate mini harness. This is grounds, and then this is either, I think this is the camshaft position sensor, this one. Not really sure. But it's got three wires. It should be camshaft sensor. This is purge valve. This one is the hood light. This one I can only assume to be either a washer pump or the low washer sensor. I think that's a washer pump because the washer line is right here. And then over in this corner, yeah, that's the washer fluid sensor. And there is another connector right here that I believe goes to the blower motor. I can't think of anything else that's back there. It feels like that's where it goes. Then we have another split right here that goes into the fuse box, and then it goes under the fuse box into this catastrophe. This was taped off, has obviously never been plugged in before. I'm pretty sure that's cruise control. This, I believe, is for the AC. This goes to the starter. I think that's the starter solenoid wire. This, I don't know. Might be AC. Don't know what this is. There's a split here that connects this harness to the alternator harness. So that's a separate harness from there on out. And that's where the main harness ends, is at that fat ass connector right there. Continuing from the main harness, this is the alternator harness. This goes to the power stud on the fuse box. And then going the other way, we got this catastrophe here. This pretty sure is the ignition coil, not certain. This is something for the AC. There's 2 grounds, your weird ass alternator connector. All of this bolts to the alternator. And then it runs down, and I believe this is the oil pressure sensor, which is broken on this. And then this is, I have no goddamn idea. This might be reverse lights, because I believe I don't know. Reverse lights are either on here or it's that. From the other end of this power stud on the fuse box, we have the starter harness. This is just like the Big 7. This goes to positive battery. This is your starter solenoid wire where it connects to the main harness. And then from battery positive to the starter, which is this weird behemoth thing. From this is an engine block ground, and that just goes to battery negative and then the fender ground. And that's all there is to that harness. The vacuum harness. This is the EVAP vacuum harness. Starts from the intake manifold. It's this line right here. It goes to the bottom of the purge valve. From the purge valve to the back of the charcoal canister. From the charcoal canister to the fuel tank. And that turns into that rusted ass metal line I'm going to have to replace. The other vacuum harness starts back here. Runs under the lip on the firewall. There's a split for the HVAC stuff, a split for cruise control, and then it goes to the vacuum ball. The washer bottle's been out before, presumably to replace the blower motor. There's a lot of broken stuff in this corner. This hose, I assume, goes to the front because it goes in the wire harness. So the front pump is the one with the actual connector thing on it. And then this one's for the back, and it goes in the firewall right behind the charcoal canister. I'm only going to use one of these, so it doesn't really matter, but I've never messed with anything on the cowl before, but in order to get the harness out, I needed to get this connector out of here. And in order to get that connector out of here, I have to take this whole motor thing out. So there's one 10mm right here, and then there's 2 T30 Torx bits on either of the wiper arm mounts. And then I presume this has a special way of just like sliding in some manner, some twisting, some contortioning. Anyway, I'm gonna get that out somehow. And then there's a zip tie clip, and then I can get the hose and the wire out of here. Okay, now I got this point and the fuse box. First one comes through right here, and it goes to this big ass connector. I think I have to pry both sides of it to unconnect it. And then the other thing is the OBD2 port, which connects to the steering column for no reason. And then the fuse box has 2 T30s on it again. I think I'm unbolting it. I don't know how this goes together back here. So there was no point in taking the face off of the fuse box, aside from the fact that it revealed to me there was a bolt in the middle of it from the other side, which this is the plug that all those wires go into. And the fuse box just sits on top of that for some reason. So that was kind of misleading. So these are the 2 screws that hold the fuse box in. They're way longer than you'd think they would be. And that bolt in this big ass connector is a 1/4 inch. It's right in the middle there. But now the harness is entirely disconnected from the vehicle, so I'm gonna get that out maybe at some point. All right, here she is, a 1996 body / engine harness. It's all one harness, very modular. So we start way over here with the electric radiator fan and the horn and the header panel harness for the headlights and the turn signals. The computer, this goes inside behind the fuse box. This goes to the brake fluid level sensor. And then we have 2 spurs here. This is all the windshield wipers for the front. This goes inside the cab. This goes to the dash harness. This is just the OBD2 port. Then we have the engine temperature gauge sensor, the injector harness, and then over here we have downstream O2 sensor and four-wheel drive lights in reverse lights, I think, maybe. And then 2 grounds on the side of the block and camshaft sensor, I believe. Yeah, something like that. This is the purge valve. This is the hood light. This is the washer fluid pumps, and this is the washer hose. It goes inside the harness. Over here we have the low washer sensor. This is the blower motor connector. Then the big old fuse box. And over here, this, I missed this earlier. This goes to the battery temperature sensor and the other horn. This is something AC probably, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what that is either, something to do with the starter. And then we have cruise control and your alternator harness, which I left connected just to keep track of it all. And this goes to the alternator. These are probably some grounds, I don't remember. Something AC, ignition coil. I think that might be the reverse light switch, I don't remember. And then that's the oil pressure sensor. And then this is the starter harness that goes from battery positive, connects to the engine harness here. That's the starter solenoid wire. Another ground, and that goes to the starter. And that is everything. Alright, so it hasn't rained here in like weeks. Weeks, literally. I've been wanting it to rain, and it just refuses to. So I figured the only way I can get it to rain is if I remove the windows from the parts Jeep and leave a whole bunch of moisture sensitive parts in it so everything gets all wet, obviously, right? As soon as I remove the windows, sure as shit, I'll be f***ed if it doesn't downpour at 3 in the goddamn morning with the most violent thunderstorm Wisconsin's seen in a millennia. That's just how life works. You gotta make something inconvenient happen so that something you want to happen does. Here's where I'm a genius, though. What life doesn't know is I secretly took all of the moisture-sensitive parts and put them in the garage when it wasn't looking. So nothing even got damaged or wet that wasn't essential. Get played, life. I just played the universe and won. I put it all right here. Look, that's an intake manifold and the wiper motor thing and I don't know, a sway bar link. None of it got wet. What are you gonna do about that, life? You gonna inflict some sort of catastrophe on me in the next couple days? Some of you are gonna be like, Waymond, why didn't you just look at the forecast? Yeah, sure, as if. The forecast. Man, 2 days ago the forecast said there was like a 92% chance of rain. Like the forecast was certain it is going to rain. Like they stated it as if it was a matter of fact. They were like, yeah, it will rain today. Like, make sure your windows are up and you know, you're prepared. And then there wasn't a single cloud in the sky. It was completely dead dry all day. You want to guess what the forecast chance for rain at 3 in the morning today was? Guess. Go ahead and guess. I'm listening. 10%? No, how about 8%? 8? Dude, they literally just make up random shit. So I don't even look at the forecast anymore because all it's going to do is piss me off. Anyway, I'm removing the windows because somebody's going to buy them. Apparently, they had a 2-door Cherokee that was damaged in a hailstorm down in Kentucky, and it broke and or dented some windows or something, so I'm selling all of the 2-door windows as a set to them, except for the windshield. I'm going to keep that.
and the back window was broken when we got it. So yeah, just these windows, the door windows, and the triangle things.
Just got back from selling the windows. Now it's raining. Now it's gonna rain every single day now that I got the windows out. Yep, just gotta know how to play the universe. Universe doesn't know I don't care about anything that's in here. It's just ruining these two-door seats that somebody probably wants desperately. But the universe doesn't know that. The universe thinks that thing's filled with valuables that I don't want getting wet. So it's gonna rain every single day until I get rid of this thing. Alright, I finally have a little bit of time to work on this thing, as in tear it apart. I'm gonna focus on getting out the steering column and the dash. I will be putting the steering column in the Comanche, even though I have that red one that I would prefer to put in there, but trying to get Renix electronics to interface with 96 OBD2 is like trying to make a 1960s washing machine communicate with a Star Wars hyperdrive. So I don't even want to think about it. I'm just going to put this column in the MJ because I actually rather like the ZJ steering wheel. Honestly, I think it's pretty cool. And the key ring lights up, as I probably demonstrated earlier, which will just add to the pizzazz. So to get the steering column out, there are 4 bolts. There's 2 nuts right here that are 10 millimeter on 96. On all other years, they're like 13s or something. And then there's so many wires in the way. There's 2 bolts on the firewall as well. And then of course you got to get the shaft out. And then the dash has got these 2 pivot bolts on each bottom corner. And then there's a line of what, like 8 millimeters across the top. You have to get the defroster trim piece out of here. To do that, you open the glove box. There's a screw right there and on this corner. And then there's 3 along the top. There's one very easy one that goes right there. There's one in the middle, and then there's one way over here that I don't know how you're supposed to get that. You need like a Phillips head on a swivel joint because there's just not room to fit a screwdriver in here. So, I mean, so far my tried and tested method of getting this trim piece out has just been to destroy it. I have a red one anyway. I actually got that one out of the junkyard by cutting a hole in the windshield so I could actually get a screwdriver on that screw. So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend going that method, but... Alright, so it looks like in order to get the column out, there are some connectors buried under this thing. I see a torque screw. That's about all I see. Get this case off and see if I can unplug these wires because they just go into the main harness here. Alright, so I got this one out, and apparently way up in these 2 holes there are torque screws that I need like an extendo Torx bit to reach, so I'm just gonna have to destroy this thing for the time being. Yeah, that's dumb. Hey, that actually didn't break that bad. I could probably reuse it. Just rip the threads out. That's actually pretty acceptable. Alright, so we got a clock spring and this big ass connector for the ignition switch and the turn signal, and that should be it. This is definitely very weird looking. This is very foreign looking for an XJ. Another thing I thought of is there's a little plastic cover here. It just pops out, hides the screw. This is the airbag disarming screw, because 96ers don't have an airbag module. The sensor that detonates the airbag is in the airbag itself. So when you do maintenance on the airbag on a 95, 96, or you know, with the ZJ column, you got to disarm the airbag by twisting that screw. The thing is, I don't know which way you're supposed to twist that screw. And the airbag does need battery power, of course, to detonate. So the fact that this thing hasn't had a battery in it in months, I don't think it's going to blow up, but that's something to be aware of. Alright, so there is a bolted connector here, this tiny little thing. It's like a 5 or a 6 millimeter or something for the turn signal and the flasher thing. This is for the clock spring, which I think that has cruise control wires in it. I don't know what any of the colors are for 96, but there are 4 wires. No, one set's probably for the horn. I don't know. Yeah, there's more pins in there. Okay, so we don't have cruise wires. We got airbag and a horn on this one, so I'm gonna have to source another column for cruise control if I want that. This is the ignition switch connector, and this is for the illuminated key ring. So I put that bolt back where it was so I don't lose that, because that's a very particular bolt. It was a 7mm. Then we got this plastic little case here that just unclips from itself, and then the wires can come out of there. And this blue connector also had this plastic cover that just clips on it right here. Put that back on when I have 2 hands. We've got a single zip tie, and now the column is free. So one thing I was a little concerned about as for compatibility was the steering shaft. I had to cut this one to get it out of the yard. The flange it was on was stuck. And you can see it's like a half circle, half rectangle with a little indent right here on the Renix and older columns. This came out of an 85. And the 96 is this side. Also has that same sort of half rectangle, half circle with a little indent on the right side there. So I'm hoping that means the columns attach the same way. Alright, here we go. So I got the 85 steering shaft on the 96 column, and I got the 96 shaft on the 85 column. This confirms to me that all years of the steering shaft remained entirely unchanged from 84 to 96. It's obviously different in 97 plus, but this is good news because that means I can keep the steering shaft that's in the truck, meaning I can keep the 96 steering shaft in the 96 so it can remain steerable. I'd of course prefer if it remained in a steerable state so I could get it out of here to sell it to a junkyard. One thing that is different between the shafts is the bolt, the through bolt that clamps the shaft onto the other shaft. The older ones use an 11mm bolt, and by older I mean Renix and older. And the 96 had a 13mm bolt, but the 11mm smaller head is a thicker bolt that doesn't even fit in this hole, so that's kind of weird, but it doesn't change anything. So to get the dash out, there's 6 bolts across the top that are 8mm, but you don't need to remove all 6. You can skip the second one in from the outside. We'll just get this one, those 2 middle ones, and then the farthest one over there. With the top screws out, you just loosen the 2 15mm on the bottom corners. You don't have to take them out, just loosen them, and then the whole dash just falls out. Pull it forward. So we got one connector here. I don't know what that does, but we're gonna have to unplug that. A couple other random things. The main thing though is the vacuum harness here. That had tension on it. So you squeeze down on these 2 clips here and it unplugs the vacuum harness from the HVAC controls. Could probably done that before I got the dash out, but there's nothing but useless information for 95, 96 on this kind of stuff. And then the harness goes to a million things over here, but it does seem to be disconnectable from the dash, which is kind of nice because the 85 I got the red dash out of, the dash harness was all integrated with the body harness. It was all one piece, so I just had to cut all the wires. But this one seems to be disconnectable. We'll see. All right, what do we got on the passenger side? Starting from, I don't know, the middle-ish. I'm gonna have to find a way to disconnect the blend door cable. That can't be that hard. We have glove box light. This goes to this. I have no idea what that is. absolutely no idea. A sensor. This is like where the evaporator core goes in the HVAC box, and there's a sensor there. I mean, it obviously has something to do with the AC, so I don't think it's very important, whatever it is, but I have no idea what this sensor could possibly do. I don't really want to rip it out of there. I don't know how that's secured. Anyway, so we have unknown sensor. This goes to the what do you call it? The resistor, the blower motor resistor, right there, that thing. And then following this harness down, we have the red one is for the dome lights. This one is for the door switch, these yellow wires. A little button that turns on the dome lights. And then this was unused, pretty sure. The radio antenna. This is for the footwell light. This one right here. This is for the tweeter speaker. And then this goes to the door. This goes inside the door for the door speaker. And those are the only two wires that go inside either door on this Jeep, because it had manual everything. So that's that side of the harness done. And so on the body side, here's your radio antenna, here's your dome light switch, the dome light wire which runs up the A pillar here, not the B pillar. And that's just kind of tucked up there in the visor clips for now. And I think that's it on the passenger side. So I'm going to figure out how to disconnect this, and then we're going to delve into that mess over there. This thing is really easy. You just press down this black tab right here, slide this red thing out, then pull it this way, and the cable just falls off. Super easy. Alright, so I've got the fuse box mostly out of here, but there's that one red wire that goes into a fuse slot for no reason, and it goes into the harness down here. So I can't really get that out. But on the other side up here, we got this gray and this black connector, and they connect to the dash harness right here. Kind of confused as to why those are there, but that red wire seems to be an afterthought, but I've seen it there on other Jeeps. I don't know what that does. So again, over here we got the door wires, here's the footwell light, here's the tweeter speaker, the dome light switch, all the same stuff over here. All I'm hung up on now is that one red wire, so I'm gonna try to take some more stuff out and see if I can't get it. And of course, all this is behind the hood release cable, so you gotta finagle it out around that. I was able to get it all out without unbolting it though. So these little white clips hold the harness to the body with those studs right there, and there's no way to unplug this red wire. I'm just gonna have to cut it. I think it might be for the fuel pump or something, but there's another wire right here that's labeled electric brake, so that's got to be for optional tow package with the trailer brake. It's just wrapped up in tape. And the red one goes into the harness right by it. It goes down here. So whatever that red wire does, it goes down the body here and something in the back. It's got to be the fuel pump. I don't know why there's not a disconnect point for it, but aside from that red wire caught up on everything, it's all ready to come out. This is everything that goes to the back. It's really not all that much. I mean, what's even back there? The turn signals, the brake lights, reverse lights, rear wiper, license plate light, fuel pump. That's about it. So just like an MJ where there's like nothing that goes to the back. But yeah, it makes it, without a dash in here, it makes it stupid easy to get the clutch pedal out. And well, I think I'm gonna put in our red 85 steering column, get the steering back together, and then call it a day. Alright, so I am foreseeing an issue here. This 85 column, well, I can only get one of the bolts in down here. That one's nowhere near lined up, and it's not getting adjusted up here at all. So this may mean the 96 column isn't going to quite fit in the MJ.
And the shaft on this isn't quite long enough anymore. Like the column doesn't poke out as far, so I can't actually properly attach the steering shaft. So the 96 steering shaft is a little bit longer, or the column is a little bit longer, meaning the shaft is a little bit shorter. This could be a bastard year thing. It could be because that steering column's from an 85. So Renix might be the same, but that's something to be wary of. I'm trying to figure out what parts I should keep. I just kind of realized this black flange on here is adjustable. It spins freely. I mean, it's pretty stiff. I need both hands, but I should be able to line up both of those bolt holes, no problem. I don't know why there's this extra one here, but maybe that's a ZJ thing. Maybe this is the XJ position, that's the ZJ position. I don't know. I also got the door locks out, so I can have a matching key for everything. The purple one goes to the passenger side, the orange one is the driver's side. This is the connector for the fan speed. It's totally melted and fell apart. And I also found more chewed wires for the cluster backlights, so that would be another reason that fuse kept blowing. So I've separated the wiring harness from the dash. It was basically just a whole bunch of zip ties. And it's amazing how light this thing is without the wires in it. I can lift this with like 3 fingers. It's not that bad at all. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's in decent shape, but I'm going to put that red interior in there so I don't need the gray dash. I guess I might need the headlight switch. That's the last thing in here. So to get the headlight switch out, there's a button that you reach through this hole right here. And that allows you to pull the knob all the way out like that. And then there's a flathead piece, and you just unscrew that. And that's your headlight switch, which is probably different than a Renix, so I'm just going to keep it just in case. But I don't know, it might be the same. Come on. I'm going to keep all this stuff nice and organized. And there we go. So I also have the glove box light, which I believe is the same for all the pre-96 years. And it's amazing how simple this thing is. When the glove box is closed, it just moves this extremely cheaply built connector away from the contacts. That's all there is to it. That's amazing. The cigarette lighter, I'm not sure what to do with either. These connectors might be different, but honestly they're probably the same. It's just a little stud and a little tab connector. So that's probably the same as Renix, but I'll keep it just in case. The 2 switches the 96 had, the MJ doesn't have either of these functions. Obviously there's no rear wiper or defroster on a Comanche, so I'm just going to get rid of these. And then the control panel for the HVAC stuff, I'm going to need a new switch here, which does seem to be replaceable. There's 2 tiny little bolts here, but that one tab melted off somehow. So I'm gonna need a connector for this and the actual knob dial thing itself, which I don't know if that's 95, 96, or if that's the same between all the years. I have no idea. So I'll probably just keep an eye out at a junkyard for something like this, so I can just cut the connector off the harness and get a new connector and find a new thingy. Although the end goal is race truck, I do at the very least want cruise control. Bunny informed me his local yard just got a 96 Country, so I headed over there to get the steering column and cruise module, which I believe is unique to 95-96. But first we found this Jeep with a custom frame.
They crashed it and it buckled. It went scissor mode.
Wow!
The self-tapper's still holding right there. They didn't even weld it. They just...
just bolted on a frame. That's... wow.
See, this makes me happy because there's a reason it's in the yard.
Dude, the cross member ripped off on the other side.
Did you see the
Yeah, the lift blocks.
The lift blocks.
An 8 1/4. Damn, dude, that's incredible. It's a country.
The column is already out.
It's a good 4-liter right there too.
The column's already halfway out.
I see that.
Now I hope the clock spring's not damaged though.
Oh, that looks pretty rough.
Yeah, because I have no idea if that clock spring got spun or not.
Look at how rusty it is. That's weird. It's a tilt column too.
I mean,
The one I have does not tilt.
how do we check this? Do we just...
Oh, it's lined up.
I guess it is.
All right.
Somehow, by a miracle.
Oh, and patched a hole in the floor with a sun visor. That's a new one. We got power mirrors. Yeah, it's a fancy one, man.
Oh, this one did have an overhead console, I think. You see that?
Yeah, the cutouts, yep.
Ooh, it's got Premier speakers in it.
They put electrical tape over the check engine light with almost exactly 200,000 miles.
How's the frame?
It lived a good life.
There's why it's in the junkyard.
Oh.
See, I always get sad when they're not rusty, but this one is. So.
Yeah, this one belongs
Like,
here.
what happened here? It looks like somebody took a Sawzall. Why? Like, why?
Dude, the leaf spring shackle is gone. That rusted off. Wow.
It got crunched.
That's incredible.
Oh my gosh, look at this side of the frame.
What do we got? Oh, 4 of 96. This was made like the same month mine was.
Is it on the column?
No, it's on the... There's a bar on the bottom of the steering wheel here.
Oh! I didn't see that. Also, look it actually has a key.
That's good.
You can get that cut.
And on 95, 96, this key ring lights up.
Oh.
Bet you didn't know that.
No, I didn't. But there is a key in here. I don't know how to get it out, but there's a key.
Well, yeah, it's already removed. So
Yeah,
this connector right here. I have this little white connector on my harness, but it's for the automatic. It's for the interlock cable. So the shift interlock cable there's a zip tie holding this thing. There's this little white connector, and then the lock thing itself just has 2 Phillips screws.
Okay, you're taking that off.
Yeah, I don't need that because it's not going to be an automatic. And then I think it should just pull out of it. Well, I gotta disconnect all these. Okay, I got the column out of this 96 Country. It was mostly taken out already, and I'm kind of concerned because I don't know why. Like maybe somebody saw something wrong with it and they were like, nah, let's just leave it here. I don't know, but it's got cruise control. We got the buttons for cruise here, and the clock spring has the same amount of wires going to it as mine did. There's still only 4 wires in that connector. So I don't know what to make of that. I'll figure it out later. Like I said, I don't know why this column was half removed. I don't see anything particularly missing from under here. All the switch panels. That's right, because the ZJ column has that extra thick plastic brace here. And in order to get the cluster trim off, you have to lower the steering column without. And I don't see that cluster trim everywhere, but here's these things. Okay, that's probably what happened. So that was nice. It's very relieving. Anyway, something else I noticed about this 96 is it has the new style seat belts in the back, and mine has the old style. And this one was also made in April of 96. So was mine. April 17th to be exact. So this means the rear seatbelt buckles changed at some point between April 18th and April 30th, 1996. That's a pretty good head start on this new conspiracy. So anyone out there with a 96, check your production date in the seatbelt buckles and leave a comment. Looking at a calendar, and of course referencing my critical investigation into the side marker torque screws, there are only 2 Mondays between those dates, so either they changed on the 22nd or the 29th. Dex, if you see this, I'm going to need to come back and go over every 96 you have. So I was trying to grab this HVAC control panel because the connector on mine is melted, and so is this one. It's the same pin in the same spot. So that must be a pretty common thing. Yeah, that kind of sucks. I don't know. I don't know if I should take it anyway, because this one, at least the... Nah, that is broke off. Yeah, I'm probably just going to leave that there. 2001. What do we got?
2-01.
Oh, okay. Irrelevant. So today I'm working on getting this trim piece out of here so I can get the wires out from behind it. You got to take the seat bracket off and the spare tire thing, which I only unbolted from here because there's nothing left for it to bolt into down there. And it also had this weird thing here with 2 Phillips screws that was holding it on. My 01 doesn't have that. So maybe that's a 96 minus thing for the 2 doors. In order to actually fully remove this trim piece, you got to take out the seat belt. But I see my wires I'm after. So we're starting to get into territory where I don't know anything. So I was ripping the wire harness out over here along the edge of the door. It goes under the carpet a little bit, and there's a second little spur of it that comes off and goes over to the passenger side. And there's another spur off that goes up under here for like the handbrake thing and the seatbelt warning. If 96s even have that, I think they do. But this connector here, I got no idea what that could possibly be for. It goes under this trim panel, so I'm gonna have to take this side all apart too. Maybe it's like for just the tail light on this side. That's the only thing I can think of. So I finally got this spur out. This goes under the center console. We still got our mystery connector that goes to the passenger side. And then this is the seatbelt warning. This is the parking brake light. This, I can only imagine, is for power seats or heated seats, if 96 even had those. Something to do with the seat. And then this is the 4-wheel drive light. So I'm not going to be using literally any of those in a Comanche. It's not going to be 4-wheel drive. I'm not going to have power seats. I'm not going to put in the seatbelt warning, and it doesn't have a handbrake. So I don't know. I don't want to cut it, but I'll think about it. There was another spur coming off of it that just goes underneath into the fuel pump right after this grommet. And then I was getting the wires out of here. They go behind this completely pointless nonsense bracket and end up in this catastrophe. There's a lot of connectors here. So these 2 were unplugged. This is for the rear dome light. This Jeep did not have a rear dome light. And don't know what this one would have been for. That one's plugged in. I think this is the defroster, because those are thick wires. This is the same blue wire that it was on its own in the harness up there by the fuse box. This is the electronic trailer brake, unused. This is liftgate stuff, because this with the defroster goes up into the pillar here and goes into the liftgate. So that's like license plate light, third brake light, etc. That's in that connector. And what else we got here? We got this, which looks identical to the mystery connector that was under the rear seat earlier, and this goes to the tail light. So I think my theory is correct about that connector under the rear passenger seat goes to this tail light, and this one goes to this tail light. And then we have a ground strap here. This is where the tail lights ground to, I know that. I should be able to disconnect all these here. And then that's interior harness A. As for the other side of that harness, it actually goes all the way up here technically. This is the hose for the rear windshield wiper. It goes through the firewall under the carpet right there. But we got this connector. This is for the rear door dome light switch. But because this Jeep does not have rear doors, obviously they're not going to use this connector. but it is still here on the two-door harness. It's kind of fun fact. So that's where the wires start, and it joins with the washer hose in the wire loom. And then we got the connector for the brake lights, and it runs in the same path along here and has this weird metal clip instead of plastic ones for this one specific spot. And then in this corner, the rear wiper hose goes up to the tailgate, and then we have, yeah, that same connector again for the tail light right here. Okay, so that's not hard. Now, because the Comanche doesn't have a rear windshield wiper, I'm just gonna delete the hose for it out of the harness entirely, because I'm not even gonna bother with that. Okay, here is all of the interior harness laid out. We'll start from the top here where it connects to the main engine / body harness. And this one red wire I had to cut because it goes into the fuse box. So we got two connectors here. It runs down the bottom of the door. There's an unused connector for the rear dome light switch, the rear door dome light switch. Spur number 1 goes under the rear seat. Spur number 1A goes under the center console for the seat belt warning, handbrake, power seats, four-wheel drive indicator light. Spur 1B goes to the secondary harness over here, which just has this connector, which goes for passenger rear door dome light switch and passenger tail light. That's all that harness does. Going back to here, we got spur 2, which just goes to the fuel pump. And then following our main harness again, we have a ground strap. We have whatever the hell this is. This is the liftgate stuff, I think. The driver's side tail light, the dome light, the defroster, and I don't know what that is. The liftgate's too close to the house to open it, so Sheldon's just gonna push it. You see how light that is? Where are you going?
Yeah. Don't skip leg day.
Yeah. We work out around here. Look, this still opens. So today I'm after the taillights. That's the last of the wiring. And these lenses are actually in really good shape. Wait a minute, how does that even come off of there? There's a Torx bit on the bottom. Dude, I never even knew that. I've never even touched 96 minus taillights before. Okay, well there's that one. This one's broken right here. And on that bottom tab. Oh, that comes out just the same. That's very nice. I wonder why there's a slot here. There's a slot for a bulb in this thing. The old Wagoneers had light bulbs there, but that's weird. Okay, the liftgate wiring for the defroster and everything else runs up behind this metal here. And you have to fish it and its grommet through this tiny little hole right here. It was kind of tedious. And then there, I see a screw right there, and then it goes inside the liftgate. So that's going to be kind of difficult to get out. So there's 2 screws on this trim panel, and then I assume it just pops off. Yeah. And break. How does this work? Does it go up? I gotta take off the brake light. I see. There we go. Here's the third brake light, and I will not be using this on the Comanche. But I do find it odd that there's 2 bulbs in it. What are those, lock? 97 Plus only has 1 bulb in this thing. I've seen somebody driving like a 95-ish XJ around once, and half of the third brake light was out. And I was like, how is that even possible? It's because there's 2 bulbs in it. So looking at this more closely, that harness is riveted in there. So that certainly complicates things. And then it runs up inside of it here and comes out right here. So that kind of got me thinking about the essentiality of all this liftgate stuff that I'm probably not going to use. So I was kind of going through it. So we got the defroster, which I'm not going to use. There would be speakers here, but because it's an SE, it doesn't have those. This is another connector for some reason. Okay, so this connector is just another jumper. So all this stuff is just like a jumper harness that just goes and connects down behind the taillight. Okay, so this is your real liftgate harness right here. This is an empty connector, don't know what it does. Then we have two more single prong empty connectors that I have no idea what they do. Then the third brake light. Then we got this green one. Where does that even go? Where does that go? Oh, that's license plate light. Okay, so that's license plate light. This is the rear wiper motor, which I know I'm not going to use. So we don't need that. And then from there, it's just the other end of the defroster. And here's your rear wiper hose, which we're also not using. So, what even am I using? License plate light? I don't need speakers, I don't need power locks, I don't need windshield wiper, defroster. I don't need anything out of the liftgate except third brake light, which I'm going to have to custom wire anyway, and license plate lights, which I'm going to have to custom wire anyway. So I don't think I actually need any of this harness here. For third brake light, I'm thinking, because this truck has the exceptionally rare cargo light, which does still work. Look at that. Fancy, fancy stuff. I kind of want to keep that. And there's trucks out there, like the Ford Ranger, for example, where it has a third brake light and a cargo light, like in the same assembly at the top of the back of the cab. So I'm thinking I could put something like that on here, keep my third brake light and the cargo light. So because the third brake light on a Comanche, though, is like behind the driver's seat instead of behind everything, I'm going to have to custom wire that, you know, just run wires up the B pillar or something. But I do want a third brake light. So that would be... I also need the license plate light functionality, obviously. But as for the liftgate itself, those are the only two things I can think of that I actually need off of here. And so the license plate light is blue, red, and black for ground. And then the third brake light is white, brown. So I found both of those colors in this connector. There's white brown is on this corner and blue red is on the opposite corner. So I could just cut this like right here, and I don't know. I mean, I'll run my own wires, obviously. That's custom stuff for later, but yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave the rest of this in here. Ooh. Damn, that doesn't look bad at all. Wow. Yeah, aside from the outer face here that's all rusted, that looks really good in there. So that is a 1996 fuel pump. Now these are hard to come by. That looks really nice. Dude, there's still like 3 gallons of gas in this thing. Uh-oh. Was there a second float? Oh. Yeah. This fuel pump still has its float on it, and there's another one sitting in there. So somebody's replaced this before. Just left it in there. And then that's the filler hose. The thicker one that goes to the bottom is where the gas goes in, and the smaller one is the vent. And you can see it's nowhere near the top of the tank. Dude, that's good gas right there. Look at that. I'll get my money's worth. Alright, I got every last drop. This thing had about 2 gallons in it, and now it's full. It's like just below the fill line. So we got a solid 3 gallons out of that son of a bitch. Looking at this 96 fuel sender, it still has a return line. And it goes into the face right there. That's the send line. That's the return line. It just doesn't poke through the other side. So it's literally the same sender as the older ones. There's just a block-off plate for the return line. This may imply that hypothetically you might be able to use an older style sender if you just blocked off the return line. I'll have to look into that. This I went over earlier. This is the EVAP system from the fuel tank. It goes to the front of the charcoal canister, and then to the purge valve, and then to the intake manifold. And I have the little self-tappers that mount the charcoal canister, and the little bracket that mounts the purge valve. Everything, man. The throttle cable's different. It just clips out of the dash the same way it does on the bracket. And then this little thing that attaches it to the pedal also just clips off of there. And a lot of the stuff that's left is just little things, like the door switches. Like I don't need to make a video about that. The only big project left is the HVAC box. So I'm going to record a bit of that, and then I think we'll call this video done. Even though I don't have everything yet, but everything that's left is simple. Like for this thing, I'm just going to label the brake lines with tape, and then just cut them because they're all rusted to hell anyway. And then that should be everything. Okay. As usual, these bolts are all fighting. So 3 of them are still stuck in there. I'm gonna have to get them out with vice grips and stuff. But I tell you, it was a lot easier to access those without an engine in the way. So anyway, there's 5 nuts here, 11 millimeter. And then I got the HVAC box out. There is one annoying screw right here that you got to get out. And then the defroster vents had one screw in the middle that I don't even know if that's factory, but here's your 95-96 HVAC box. Still don't know what that does, but it's quite a bit different than 97 Plus. Instead of the case being split down the middle, there seems to just be like a lid on top of it. So I don't think I'm going to tear it apart right now. I'm just going to put it in the basement and forget about it for a while. I'm going to get a new blower motor. There have been rodents chewing on the blades, and it doesn't spin very freely. It feels like it's about to seize up at any moment. And I can delete this because I'm not going to have a heater control valve. And I got to get some more of this foam stuff. Gotta find some of that. So I'm gonna bring this into like Harbor Freight or something and see if they have any. So I'm gonna organize these little parts that I have laying around yet, and that's it really. That's all the big stuff. Clutch pedal and the brake booster is all that's left, and then that's it for this thing. Tearing apart this HVAC box here, there seems to be 2 covers on it. This one has to like slide to the left here to unhook from all those dowel pins, and then it's still stuck on something. There's a ton of screws everywhere. They're all 7 millimeters, except for this one. That's an 8 millimeter. But they're not just on the top. There's some on the sides. They're all over the place. I still don't know exactly how this comes apart. I'm just trying not to break it. I'm learning as I go here. Okay, so along the front here, there's 3 plastic clips that were vehemently pain in the ass to get out. I broke one of them. This does not want to come off. So, I guess that's not how you're supposed to do it, but where does that even sit? In there? This is vastly more complicated than 97 Plus. This is way worse. And I haven't even gotten the other half of it off yet. What is attaching that? I see another bolt right there, so you got to get the heater core out to access that bolt to get this other cover off. This is so dumb. There's 2 more screws on the bottom side of it that I found. I don't know if I got to get those out. I don't know what the hell is going on here, dude. But apparently it's a 2-piece HVAC box. Yeah, it's a 2-piece box. So the heater core half of it bolts onto the AC half of it. And in order to get this cover off, you have to remove this bolt, which is blocked by the heater core. So you have to get the heater core out. And in order to get the heater core out, you have to remove this side of the box, because the heater core is bolted on this side, not the outside. On the inside of it, there's a bolt. Who designed that? That is wild. So I gotta unbolt this so I can get the heater core out. And this is all mouse nest that was in there. Look at that. And then I can get that bolt out so I can get this cover off so I can get the AC out of there. Okay, the heater core has 2 bolts. There's one right here on the inside, and then at the very bottom, it bolts right there. That alone is so dumb. But the rest of this is so dumb too. Why is this whole thing 2 pieces? This is stupid. Like, this is straight up stupid. 97 Plus does it totally differently, and it actually makes sense. This is just unbelievably dumb. So there's your blend door. And that is a thick ass evaporator. Look at that thing. I think the 97 Plus one is only like 70% of that. All this shit in there. That should just pull out, but it's probably bolted in like 7 places for no reason. I was hoping I wouldn't have to get this out. Whatever the hell that is. Well, what I was hoping is to use a 97 Plus evaporator in this, but that's absolutely not happening. So yeah, I'm definitely going to delete the AC. So I'm just going to rip this out of here. And here's that sensor thing. What is that? It's a rod. It's like, is that like a temperature sensor? So there was 2 more bolts on this side that held the evaporator in. There's probably more I'm forgetting about. Right now it just feels like it's caught on whatever this stupid thing is. And I had to just break this. This was not coming out. So I think I'm just gonna break this. I have no idea what it is, but it's for the AC, and I'm not using the AC. Yeah, that's gotta be a temperature sensor of some kind. Let's see how you're supposed to get that out of there. Come on, dude. Okay, so that's how it's gonna be. Just barely not wide enough. Okay, there we go. Yeah, just break the whole thing now. Tell you what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut that son of a bitch off of there. Why can't you... Why didn't you want to just come out of there in the first place? Yeah, why couldn't you just do that? That's so weird. What is that? Okay, finally. An evaporator. I should have never taken this apart. I got it somewhat mostly back together now. I can't really figure out this. There's just a gap here now, and this dowel doesn't line up with that slot, and this is just terrible. This is 2025 model year car terrible. I have lost a measurable amount of respect for the XJ after dealing with this. That did not happen with the 97 Plus stuff. I've done a heater core on a 97 Plus, what, like 2 or 3 times now? And sure, it's a pain in the ass, but it makes sense. You can understand what the engineers were thinking when they designed it. Like, okay, you know, it's annoying, but it's doable. Reasonably. I look at a 97 Plus HVAC box and I think they did what they could with what they had. But this is inexcusably terrible. There's absolutely no reason the whole box needs to be 3 separate pieces where you need to take one thing off this to access the next thing off this to access the next thing off that to reach the next thing off. That's so dumb. This is the dumbest single element out of all of the XJs ever, by far. Like, the rear main seal is the next thing that comes to mind when I'm talking, like, dropping the oil pan with the axle still installed. This is beyond that. This is dumb. So, I'm kind of thinking, what if I didn't even have any of this in the truck? Like, no HVAC at all. Because I'm not going to put an air conditioner in it. I'm just not going to have AC. No problem. The heater, though, that's kind of a bit of a more iffy one, because although I'm not going to drive it in the winter, the heater is still helpful and necessary for, like, when it's raining and you need moisture off the window on the inside. And, you know, sometimes, obviously I live in Wisconsin, and it could be the middle of July and it gets down to like 40 degrees for no reason. So I could definitely see many situations where I would want and need a heater. I feel like the heater is definitely like 10 times more essential than the AC. So I'm absolutely not putting AC in it. Like, that's a confirmed no. The heater, though, I'm not sure knowing how terribly this all goes together, I don't know if I even want to put it back in, but I don't know. I got plenty of time to think about it. I might change my mind on that. I don't know. At the very least, though, having a blower motor and a heater core is like bare functionality for an automobile, really. You could get these without AC, but you could not get them without a heater. Welcome to my lair. So here's all my Jeep parts. I keep them in the dungeon down here. Here's all the red stuff from that 85 in the yard. I'm going to put that all in at the same time as the 96 swap. So we got the header panel. This is the engine / body harness. This is the dash harness. Here's your full cluster. This is the interior harness and the little things like the tail lights. I have the original steering column here, which is just a base model, non-tilt, no cruise column that came with it. And then this is the one we got at our bunny's yard. Came from a country, so it's got a tilt wheel and cruise control in it. I'm probably just going to combine the two of them and just use the best pieces of whatever. I also got the cruise module right there. And we just got this table today. Look at this badass table. We got it at a garage sale. So here's just, I don't know, more stuff. The vacuum harness, the throttle cable, the fuel line, the fuel pump, the air box, the radio adapter, a battery tray from a 97 Plus, so you can fit a bit bigger battery in it. And the fabled ECM cover. Ooh, pretty sure this was only ever on 96s. I've never seen another year with it. And then I also kept the glove box lid because of the key, but I don't think there's any way to get that out of there. So I'll probably just end up trashing it, but, or just keep it as a memento. But yeah, here's where I'm going to keep everything. Just down here in the dungeon where nobody else is using this space. And it's going to sit here and basically until further notice. I have absolutely no idea when I'm going to have time to actually do this swap. Because my XJ's engine is about to blow up, and it would be a shame if I tore apart the MJ and didn't have it for like 6 months while I'm doing all this. So I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that. I'll put some of that siphoned gas to good use here. I'm not drunk. It's a little special something we like to do with automotive parts that piss me off around here. Oh yeah. You don't need AC. Kinda gotta spray the surrounding area with the hose, otherwise it will just kinda set the entire yard on fire. It burns mouse nest pretty good though, look at that. You can just buy one of these, you know. Perfectly safe and legal. Press button, receive flames. Watch this. It's that easy. It is insanely hot too. I've made a spreadsheet of every part I removed, but I can't help but think I'll forget something. If you're bored, you can peruse over the list in the description and let me know if I missed something essential. Otherwise, I have 2 questions. Does anyone know where to source a 96 fuel pump, or if they're even made anymore, because it doesn't seem like it? And secondly, for you 96 guys out there, check those seat belts and the production date on your door sticker. This is an excellent mosquito repellent too.